means we are truly live. Sorry, I'm a couple of minutes late getting on the air. And the reason for that is a whole lot going on in the background tonight, folks. Welcome to the Tribal Forum. I'm Michael Noland. And as people are filtering in tonight, I did want to cover a couple of shout outs. First of all, I got to say a big thank you to. Now I turned that down. I could have swore I turned that down. Okay. Now it doesn't want to. We're getting an echo here. That's it. Okay. I've got a complete loop going, folks, and there doesn't seem. Let's see if we got this going here. Bear with me. Okay, good. All right. Let me get back on here. I had shut down one device, but evidently I didn't shut down the sound on another. And who knows what happens when that happens. All right, so let's see. I wanted to give shout outs to a couple of people here, as I usually do as people filter in, like I said. First of all, Brendan, before I even got on the air, gave us a wonderful super thanks. Thanks so much, Brendan. And at the beginning of these streams, I'm always going to shout out those who gave super thanks in the previous stream. And of course, that at the top of that list is Brandon again, also known as Oberheim. He gave a wonderful shout out on my last stream. Richard Mueller, who is also a tribal elder, okay, gave a shout out as well as supporting the channel financially by being a channel member. Of course, Storm Cop 55, aka James, gave us a wonderful shout out in the last stream, and he is also a tribal chieftain and supports the channel that way. Helene Spalding, I can say things about her all day. As you guys know, she has helped out the channel far more than just financially supporting it. And I appreciate you, Helene, if you're out there. Michael Boswell, Captain Coke, Deuces Wild, and Rocking Bird. All of these folks have financially supported the channel, and I do appreciate it. Now, the reason there's another reason why I wanted to give these people shout outs tonight, too, is I'm going to be frank with you folks. I've thought about bringing this up before, and tonight's as good a night as any. Those of you who support this channel are keeping this channel's head above water. All right, plain and simple. I have gotten messages, I've gotten emails and comments in the comment section that a lot of you have been unsubscribed to this channel. A lot of you are saying that your notifications have been turned off, that you have to re-engage and resubscribe to the channel, right? And on top of all of that, you've also complained that even if you turn on the notification bar, a lot of you aren't being notified of my streams and my regular videos. And this has been a problem that's been going on, at this pace for the last 6 months. All right, I'll just be real honest with you about that. And the channel doesn't make what it used to by being a YouTube partner. Plain and simple. Now, there's a lot of channels that are going through this. I'm not the only one. My wife likes to watch, what's his name, babe?
David Politis.
David Politis. Missing 411. She likes those kind of videos, right? And his channel has gone the same way. Harmless Dave, if any of you know Harmless Dave out there, I'm a subscriber to his channel. He had nearly 89,000 subscribers, and he got locked out of his channels. He's having to start again. But even before all of that happened, he noticed that he wasn't making what he used to. And all I can say is I'm a pretty much, as I'm going to prove tonight, pretty much a big mouth. And sometimes my mouth gets me in trouble, and probably has gotten me in trouble with the YouTube algo demon. Okay, to be honest with you. So thank you very much for all of your support. You guys make it worth my while. You give me energy, and I appreciate that. Now, if you're not able to, support the channel financially, I understand that. We're in a difficult time period, certainly here in the United States, for sure. But if you watch my videos, check to see if you are still subscribed. Check to see if that bell notification is still engaged, and we'll try and get through this difficult time period of this channel. Now, that leads me to that ought to give enough people time to get in, but I do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Now, tonight's video, if you notice, I changed the title of tonight's video. I was going to do a stream on who really was the first heavy metal band. And I have an interesting take on that, and that will be a stream I want to cover in the future. Maybe my next stream. That was the idea to go with tonight. But what I wanted to do tonight instead, if you take a look at the stream's title, is it's this is how rock and this. Let me read it exactly. All right, for you guys here. This is how rock will die, not with a bang, but with a whimper. Okay, so to get everything started, I wanted to read a post that goes back, and I purposefully looked for old posts for this time period. This one is dated October 24th, 2012. That's 13 years ago, folks. And I don't know if this is a female or a male who wrote this in this particular forum. But keep in mind that we're talking about 13 years ago, folks. All right. So here he writes, with concert tickets at a ridiculous high these days, what's your take on seeing an older band that is, for one reason or another, well past their prime? Whether they've lost their voices, their chops, their energies, their signature sound, or been reduced to a tribute band with one original member on stage. 13 years ago, what band was that, folks? Foreigner, right? Okay. So, anyway, he says, being a youngin', and that's what he says. I often use that word, don't I? Being a youngin', I never got the chance to see the greats of the 50s through the 90s in their heyday. So when I get the chance to see a legendary act, I often have to debate whether it's worth the dough, usually by checking reviews of recent videos. I've seen quite a few greats in the past few years. He mentions at this time it was McCartney, Dylan, the Beach Boys reunion, Little Feat, and Judas Priest. And I'm seeing George Clinton and P Funk tomorrow. And what's left of The Who next week. Usually the shows are nowhere near what they turned out in their heyday. But there's usually some great moments, and I'm always grateful to see the 20th century veterans that have molded my music taste when I get the chance. At the same time, I've skipped quite a few lately. Any thoughts? Yes, and I don't know the name of this individual. They didn't get it, but I have a thought or two, buddy or sister. Do you also like train wrecks? Do you like collapsed bridges? Do you slow down at automobile accidents and look for a body? Because isn't that what we're getting with a whole lot of folks these days? And I've got a list here, and I want you folks to give me some ideas of people you think are way past their prime that are out there and shouldn't be touring. Okay. And if I hurt anybody's feelings tonight, because I know when it comes to being a rock fan, some people don't like to hear anything negative about their favorite rockers at all. They're fans, that's it. I'm just glad they're there. And if you're one of those, I understand that. But I'm not one of those. And like I said, the channel's called The Bottom Line. I give you my bottom line, but the real bottom line is in the comments. So you can put them there tonight for all to read live. And then if you watch this stream later, you can put them there for an eternity. All right. And people can come up and you can defend your position in that way. And if I can get to some of the comments tonight, I'll look for some of those comments as well. All right. So now keep in mind as I go down my list, some cold, hard freaking facts here, folks. This is show business. All right. There is a level of expectation, right? How many of these artists that I'm going to mention, keep in mind, are making new music? How many of them are staying in shape to perform? All right. And how many, despite not being those last two, are still asking for top dollar and are basically ripping us off because they're no longer offering us what they used to. And I'm even saying new music, right? They used to give us new music every 2 or 3 years, right? Back in the 60s, it was twice a year. We'd get albums from many of our favorite rockers out there. So, first up, Paul Simon is back on the scene. Did you know that? Now, wasn't it CBS that did a special on him announcing his permanent retirement? I could have swore I saw that a couple of years ago. Yet he's out touring with his wife, Edie. And as far as I'm concerned, they should be touring as Edie Brickell and the Old Bohemian. His voice is weak. You listen to it. I took a look at a couple of videos right here on YouTube. His voice is, she overrides him like 2 to 1. Not at all like what Garfunkel would do, where their voices blended real well together. And he is sitting down during the concert, which he always used to stand up and play, his guitar strapped on him. So he's sitting down. He's older now, can't stand up for the whole performance. His wife is much younger than him, so she's still sounding pretty good, but he sounds weak. All right. Now, Paul Simon's one of my favorite rockers of all time. Rocker, I don't know if you call him a rocker, but he's in the rock genre, right? Acoustic rock or whatever, ballad rock, whatever you want to call him. And I just saw a super thanks there.
Got a super thanks from White Monkey.
Oh, yes. Hey, White Monkey, I just started to watch one of your videos. And let me get to this. When I turned off, I had to kind of renegotiate here. I want to read your comment here in a second. But I got to finish it. I was watching it as I was setting up the studio for tonight. All right. So everybody go to White Monkey's channel, subscribe to him. He's got a quirky sense of humor and a biting kind of response to some things. Great job on your video. I won't comment on it right now because I didn't see all of it, but I was just watching. I gave you a thumbs up. He's saying, I'm waiting for the bombshell to drop before the last Black Sabbath show. We'll get to Black Sabbath. But thank you so much for that wonderful, you're keeping me afloat, brother. That's all I can say. All right, so you've got Paul Simon. What about Ann Wilson? I was just watching a video by Larry Graves, a.k.a. the Canadian Stud Muffin, a sister channel to this channel. The brother channel to this channel is, of course, Royce in the House, and I see that you're out there in the peanut gallery, Royce. Thanks for supporting me. I appreciate that. Royce also financially supports this channel. But after this stream, I will be heading over to Royce's show. He starts at 6:30. I shut down around 6. Okay, maybe a little over to make up for the fact that I started late tonight. But we're going to be talking about something a lot more pleasant. I saw that, darling. Thank you. RBR. Oh, this has got to be RBR. That is
Retro Beat.
Oh, Retro Beat. Okay, really great. Retro Beat. Oh, I see what it is. This is brand new. Okay, $5 Retro Beat repository. Thank you so much. First time I've noticed you here in the peanut gallery. I appreciate the support, man. I wish I could throw you guys an extra hour tonight, but the extra hour is coming. I'm going to be on Royce's channel. So, and we're going to talk about something a lot more fun than we're talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about the freaking Moody Blues. All right. One of my favorite bands. It used to be in the top 13 bands on my fictional Mount Rock Olympus. Right. But then I gave it all over to you folks, and they were voted down further in the list, but they're still there. But they were in the top 13 bands, and I think they were pretty much the progenitors of psychedelic and progressive music. We'll talk more about that on Royce. I don't want to give away too much. Okay, so then I was saying, I was watching a video on a Canadian Stud Muffins channel, and he was covering a performance by Heart. Oh boy. Ann Wilson, all wheelchair, white hair, and voice in disrepair. That's all I saw there. What happened to expectations of being in the entertainment business? You know, where is the new music? All right. And where is the presentation? And why would anybody? What, she doesn't even sing well these days, folks. Why would anybody want to go see that train wreck? But they're out there and they're pumping. And I know a lot of Heart fans are just so glad they get one more chance to hear them live. At this point, I think her sister should probably start looking for, if she's going to continue to tour as Heart. First of all, Heart isn't Heart ever since they kicked out all the guys in the band, as far as I'm concerned. So it's the Wilson sisters, right? So one Wilson sister is as good as another, and she should just look for another lead singer who can get up there and dance. I mean, uh, she's Ann Wilson, so the other's Nancy, right? Nancy. Nancy still has tons of energy when she's up there, still playing great guitar, right? But Ann is looking more like an albatross for that band than anything that would drive that to further success. The lack of new music, her health is brittle. Uh, Tours get canceled. Legs of tours get canceled. They're on, they're off, they're off. They're not getting together. They're getting along together. They are getting along together. Who the hell knows with these two? And what about Peter Frampton? He is about as sit bound as Anne is. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, maybe they should go touring off into the sunset in a couple of, or a wheelchair made for two. You know, Peter Frampton has admitted that he has had to learn a trick with his finger, one finger, to kind of play his solos because the fingers aren't moving quite the way they used to. So you know what you're getting is merely the shell of these solos. Now, I was a major Peter Frampton fan up to Frampton Comes Alive. I think that is one of the most overblown, overrated live albums on the planet. I loved all of his stuff up to there. I loved him in Frampton's Camel. I loved him even before that, of course, right? With Marriott and Crowd. And yet he's up there. He was ready to give it up, folks. Now, remember that. He was on his last legs. Oh, maybe one more tour. And then he gets nominated to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He can now charge more and everybody's feeling sorry for him. Oh, the poor fragile rocker, and yet he's out there. What does he really have to offer? Where is the new stuff? Where are the great? I watched him because I liked him as a guitarist. He's not able to play the guitar he used to play. Why would I go and see him live other than to go and watch a bridge collapse? Okay, so it gets down to that for me. And then, speaking of Royce just did a video on Ozzy Osbourne. Now, we've been talking about the ups and downs of this reunion show of Black Sabbath. And one of Royce's very recent videos, he's talking about how Ozzy Osbourne will be performing on a flying throne. All right. You know what? That's not Ozzy Osbourne. That's Ozzy Airborne. Okay. And I've still got my major doubts about this thing even happening. And the more I hear about this show, I've got to tell you, folks, I am less and less excited. If you remember, Royce and I covered the news at first. We were both happy as punch. We thought, yes, I thought Ozzy had been through rehabilitation. There was reason to think that by the time summer came along, he'd be ready for this show. And we're finding out more and more that it's more wishful thinking on Ozzy's part, who would probably commit to an entire tour right now if it wasn't for Sharon. And Sharon's the only one that's giving him a dose of reality, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not a major Sharon Osbourne fan at all, her or her daddy. Okay. What about the Rolling Stones, aka the Rolling Bones? Oh, you want proof? Okay, I'll give you proof. Keith Richards. All right. Now, with the Rolling Stones, we did get a great album, and it's recent enough that we can still call that a relatively new album. And it's a great album. I think it's one of their better albums. It's not in the top three, probably even five. But past that, it's going to find a position soon after that. Wonderful new album. But I've watched video after video where Keith Richards is messing up time and time again as far as playing. Now, I also saw an interview where he said that he's got, and of course, if you look close up pictures of his hands, his knuckles are the size of my wrist, right? And he's got arthritis. So he's working against that. But he has said it doesn't affect his playing. It just looks worse than it actually is. Then what's the excuse? You know, what's the excuse, Keith? Why do you keep flubbing your lines there? Again, keep in mind, we're talking about show business. All these monkeys are in show business, folks. All right. It gets down to that. Don't think there are these outlaw rockers and everything. Way too many decisions. We've covered how Ticketmaster and Live Nation, kind of get together. These guys are rubbing elbows with the Hollywood crowd. I guarantee you, right? What about the Who with two members left, and this younger person even mentioning them and mentioning 13 years ago how there was only two members left? I've got to ask, why are we still calling them the Who? Why aren't we just calling them the what the fuck? Right? I mean, what is it? I mean, you watch videos of them. I swear to God, I'm thinking Pete Townsend, and then we've got the lead singer coming off. I should have written these names down, but the lead singer throwing his mic like this. Remember when he used to send that thing to the ceiling, snap it back, right? Show business. That's not there. And Pete Townsend, this is it. No windmill left. And often real short staccato, they don't even sound the same. And the only thing that they got going behind them are the musicians behind them. And these two guys up there, frailly, what was it, their latest London show, didn't at all freaking impress me. Now, when I saw this goes back to one of my earlier videos, it did real well. I think it got close to 400,000 views. And that was rockers who need to retire now, right? And I covered Phil Collins. All right, now they're not out touring now. They've done their thing. But even then, it was a concern to me. And when I saw him hobbled up in the wheelchair like this, singing his songs, I said to myself, there must be some misunderstanding. There must be some kind of mistake. Where was he? He wasn't on his drums. He's all hobbled around. His voice sounded good, and I hear the show was good. So, as far as being musically proficient, I guess they were. He had his son drumming for him. But the reason I would want to see Phil Collins is to see the freaking bastard drum. Okay. But so that wasn't going to happen. And on top of that, he looks old and frail. Take a look at my thumbnail. I chose the perfect um, picture of him. He's quite literally sitting down like this, like a grandpa telling all the grandchildren, back in the day, sad, sad. And of course, Foreigner is another one. And I think the young person that was making that post that I read earlier, we're talking specifically about Foreigner. I will say one thing about Foreigner. Foreigner, for the first time, is well named because there's not an original member left. They're all foreigners, aren't they? But they're a tribute band at best, but they get to use the name. Okay. And I've also said things about how they are out and about to make sure that they're going to tour well into the 2030s, folks. That's why they got this new kid coming up. They're kind of, what is it? Mick Jones was saying that he would, that Mick Jones discovered him in a Broadway type play, I guess, that honors Foreigner, and they're bringing him along for certain dates, and how Kelly Hansen can't go south of the equator due to residency issues. I don't understand that. And they're even managing to get Lou Gramm to do, 3 or 4 songs, maybe 2 or 3 songs at a couple of their shows. The band is imploding. And yet, obviously, they've got plans for the future. Kiss, you know, uh, all the shenanigans I've covered with Gene Simeon. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to monkey around with his name. But good Lord, I wrote in a stream not too long ago that Gene Simmons, will only charge you. They were talking, it was a panel discussing all their autographed things they had from Gene Simmons, right? So I wrote in, Gene Simmons will only charge you $12,000 to sign his damn signature at this point. All right. I mean, talk about a circus. That's what Kiss has become for me. All right. So these were the top people that I thought that were really uh, kind of the ones that are currently bothering me the most. What about you guys? All right, I'm going to get in here and to start taking a look at some of your comments. As soon as I see a comment that's talking about what we're talking about, I will go ahead and read that and highlight that. Good to see you, Novus Nick. I'm glad you're in the house there. White Monkey's in the house. James Watson is in the house. Dr. Insomnia. Let's see. Oh, he said something about Harmless Dave. He says, I was able to get back to Harmless Dave's old channel and resubscribe. Might help the algorithm. Yeah, man. I mean, he was on the verge of hitting 100,000. He would have gotten that silver play that everybody wants, right? You get a silver play plaque once you hit 100,000 subscribers. He was so close. He was getting there. And he got shut down. Now, Harmless Dave, he's a lot more political than I am. And I think it's pretty clear why he got shut down. But he's starting over. He's got a new one. It's just called Harmless Dave, and I encourage everybody to go on over there and give him a chance. Let's see who else is here. TJR. Clint, okay, we're not going to talk politics here. Hello. Let's see. Dave Sampson. Hello to Michael and Kimberly. Hello back, David. Let's see if anybody has anything to say here. Novus Nick says, spin their records or videos, but done with live if they're barely alive. Sorry, but I'm honest. And you always get the bare bones gut feel from Nick, and I appreciate that. Both of us are kind of like that. And that's what you're getting from me tonight. And it gets down to it. Folks, I'm older. All right. I'm retired. I no longer do professionally what I used to do to support my family. Every dog has its day. Everything has a shelf life. All right. You have to come to terms with what you can do at whatever age you are. When you're young, you have to come to terms that you're going to have to claw your way to the top because nobody's interested in you. Right. And usually that's because there's a lot of old dogs that won't give up their seat, and a lot of these people I've covered already tonight are nothing more than that, in my opinion. A bunch of old dogs preventing new blood to enter. Okay. A lot of you asked me in my last stream, why don't you cover more new bands? Or some of you were saying it's impossible for new bands to get a spot. And that is exactly what I'm talking about here. Let's see. Ron Reno, seeing bands in their prime and seeing them again today can be very disappointing. Now, that's interesting because I remember feeling slightly pointed, I should say, when I saw Donovan the last time. He was up on stage. I saw him in the theater. Like I've said in the past, my wife and I, Kimberly, and our daughter Rachel, we all went to go see it together as a family. And while it was terrific to see him, I hadn't seen him before. So it was kind of a catch up um, uh, kind of deal for me. So I do understand why some people want to see him. Oh, I never caught him before. Wow. You know, but I remember it was just him sitting on the floor of a stage. I was up in the balcony, his acoustic guitar, and doing acoustic renditions, and then talking about stories, usually having to do with the Beatles when he hung around with the Beatles. And that was all A OK. But I couldn't help but thinking all night, God damn, I wish he had a freaking band up there and do Mellow Yellow or Sunshine Superman. I don't want to hear that on an acoustic guitar. But that was my impression. All right. So it can be disappointing. I agree with that comment. AACB Productions, $135 for seeing the Sex Pistols live. Not even inflation can justify that, right? Okay. And you guys know I'm not a big punk fan. I think it was important. I think it was necessary. Rock needed a good punch in the face or a deconstruction at that time, and some wonderful music came out of it. But the Sex Pistols never freaking rang my chime. All I wanted to do was punch them every time I saw them. Nothing endearing about that band or punk in general. Some of them are okay. Some can be. Maybe some of the newer punk is a little more, you know, uh, up there, or a little more melodic. We're going to talk about melody when we talk about heavy metal in an upcoming stream. All right. Let's see who else is here. It's impossible to get to every single one of you, so I'm trying to find some comments here. The drummer of Rush knew when to retire. Yeah. He had tendonitis and then feet infections. And after that, the 35 shows booked for R40, he was retired. And sadly, he got cancer a year into his retirement. And it is a sad story. But he knew when to bow out, and since he passed away, you have to take him for his word. He bowed out permanently, right? But you got to wonder, especially with what the other two members of Rush have been saying lately and hinting at as a possibility, if they could have coaxed him out. And would they still have something to say? I think they would. I think Rush, if he was still around, Rush would still have something to say. Big fan of them, and both of them are still not in their prime, but they're certainly at the top of their game and could replicate anything they've played before. That's for sure. If they, just toured with older material, and I think there is a possibility the two remaining Rush members will do exactly that here in the upcoming, probably near future. Ashley Reynolds says, "Who cares? If they want to tour and fans want to pay, good. To see them past their prime, good luck to them." Your iPad's starting to rocked back and forth on me again. Uh, and it kind of froze up. Damn it. That's just what I needed. But I caught the main gist. And of course, people are going to think that. Like I said at the beginning, I understand. Well, there's obvious a market. All right, because we're seeing band after band, classic rocker after classic rocker, touring, residencies, and everything, and it's paying very handsomely for them. But at this point, I look at it. Was it Ashley that said that? I think it was Ashley. If not, I'm sorry. Well, you wouldn't be Ashley, would you? But it gets to the point also that bang for the buck, money that's out there. And of course, everybody has a right to pay for whatever in the hell they want. I understand that. But it gets down to this also. It hurts, in my opinion, the art form of rock and roll. It bars new bands from rising up. Okay. These guys have got the headliner tours all locked down. And as long as people will continue to go see them, they've got the lockdown. Now, instead of getting fresh, wonderful, exciting, energetic guitar players playing at the top of their prime and them making major money, they're encouraged to go out and make new material, get new albums, and a resurgence for rock and roll. We get Ann Wilson in a wheelchair, unable to sing. We get Peter Frampton not in a wheelchair, but seated. So I guess he can actually walk out. He just can't continue to stand, right? And he's using a one finger trick to play some of his solos just to get the thing down because his fingers won't move. We get Keith Richards making mistake after mistake after mistake. Mick Jagger still got it, you know, but so many of the members have passed away at this point. Are they even the Rolling Stones? So that's what I would think. Eric Schultz says, "Hello, Michael. It's sad to see the rock and roll greats fading away and dying off, but I hope that rock and roll will still be around." And it could be around, Eric, if somebody would make room for newer bands. I've talked about Dirty Honey. They've got two albums out now that I'm aware of. It's not like I follow every heartbeat of the band. And they had to kind of left foot their way into the industry, right? They had to fight, they had to think guerrilla tactics to even get where they are. Are they making what a Fleetwood Mac would make at this point? If Fleetwood Mac got together and it was just at this point, they don't get together with Lindsay, right? And John's permanently retired. Let's say Stevie Nicks and Mick Fleetwood decide to tour as Fleetwood Mac. Oh my God, what a horror show that would be, right? But they'd make all the top bucks. Do you think Rival Sons from Canada would? How about the band Dorothy? Lead singer's Dorothy, band's Dorothy, right? What about them? What about Greta Van Fleet? I saw them. They weren't making the money. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to see them. That McCartney's making, or that the Who are making, or getting the venues that those venues get, those artists get. And that's all connected again with Live Nation, Ticketmaster, and a host of other organizations surrounding the whole crap. MSG, Las Vegas Sphere, all of this stuff, they're all in bed together, folks. And new rockers don't get a chance to, come to the fore and have their day in the sun. Do you guys remember? And I know most of my viewers are well into at least, usually late 40s on up to my age. How old am I? That's none of your business. That's none of your beeswax. I'm 70. Okay. And do you remember when we used to go to concerts to be astounded? Do you remember going to concerts and thinking to yourself, oh, no way. He didn't just do that. Right? No way. Nobody can play like Jimmy, Hendrix or Page, and you go and you watch them and you go, God, the boldness of them, The jam bands that were out there, changing, couldn't sound exactly like the record. So what they did was even better yet. Here's what we can do, and watch us fucking mess your mind up in a moment because we're that talented. Are you getting that from anybody I read here? Are you? There's a few. McCartney's still writing, okay, but his voice is shot. And I'm tired of everybody defending McCartney 3. All right? It's got a couple of good tunes in it that he almost sounds good with his older voice. He needs to go and do that, but he won't. He still thinks he sings like a golden cherub, right? And who else was it that may have put out some music or did something? Ozzy Osbourne. That was the other one I wanted to make. Both Royce and I are big fan of Patient Number 9, his 13th album, and so far his latest album, as far as I'm aware. And it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And one of the guitarists on there was Eric Clapton. And I was going to base my heavy metal stream on a 1991 interview with Eric Clapton. So look forward to that. Subscribe to this sucker and tap that top bell notification, and you'll be notified of that upcoming stream. Because Eric Clapton doesn't think that heavy metal started with Black Sabbath. He's got a couple of different ideas, and I wanted to get you guys all involved in this. What is heavy metal? What are the weaknesses of heavy metal? Because it's pretty much ignored by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, right? Heavy metal's never been the top. When rock reigned, it wasn't the top rock charting, with the exception probably of the Black Album by Metallica. And even then, Metallica went very melodic. Matter of fact, got a lot of criticism from their older fans that they were selling out, which I don't think they were at all. Matter of fact, that's my favorite album by them. But I'm not a major, um, I'm not a major heavy metal fan, although I like a few heavy metal bands. A little bit in every feels pretty good. Looks like we got another super thanks. Let me see what we got here. My screen is all frozen up here, darling. There we go. It unfroze at the last minute. Deuce is wild. Thank you so much. $5 from you. Deuce, as I brought up at the beginning of this channel, gave us a super thanks in the last. By the way, any of you who are doing that in my next regular pre-recorded video, I always give you a shout out. I call you a rock star and everything. It's my way of saying thank you for supporting this channel. And I am not. I'm just going to say it plain and simple. I'm not fucking around with you guys. All right. This channel is in trouble. Okay. I am not making at all what I used to make. And so it is you that is keeping this channel alive. And I so appreciate that so very much. YouTube seems to have a problem with a certain type of individual, and I guess I'm one of them. To which, if anybody has any problem with that, I say, go fuck yourself. Okay? Basically that. Zeb Earl, good to see you. Heavy metal never died. It survived everything deep in the back alleys and gutters. Oh, good comment. I love that. And we're going to be talking about that in an upcoming stream. Vance is his name. Another great channel you guys should check out. I love Vance. Vance is way more into going to current rock concerts. So he's probably maybe disagreeing with me a little bit here tonight. I don't know, but that's okay. That if you disagree with me, that's not the whole thing. My point of view is just the starting point. It's just the lighter. Ashley was taking me to task early. I gave her my response, but her comment is as valid as mine, right? So if you guys don't agree with everything I say, that would be awesome. 120 watching. My God, I thought I was talking to about 40 people. I know a lot of streams are going on right now, and so I didn't think be doing as well tonight. But thanks for bringing that up, Christian, aka Divining Dragon. He says 120 watching, 66 likes. Please like, share, subscribe. Let's push it to 70. Yes. And you know what? When you do that, see, there's, I call the bottom line army for this channel has always been the viewers first and the thumbs up second, and then those who will financially support the channel. All right, you've got to have an audience, and you can't get an audience unless you get thumbs up. So if you could give this stream a thumbs up, if you're watching it later, give it a thumbs up. Every 50, you get a slight bump. If we get to 150, that's worth 3 bumps, and maybe a few more people will see this stream. Okay? Val, hey, just chatting. Okay, that's good. Music Talk with John. Hello, Michael. Just joined mid rant. Give him hell. You know, Kimberly can tell you, I've been cussing up a storm all day today. I almost didn't want to do this stream because I am in a bit of a foul mood over a couple of things, as you guys would probably know. But damn it, you know, rock and roll is my life. All right. I'm a rock musician. I've played in rock bands, and I am a rock fan. It is the soundtrack to my life, and I want to be proud of the bands, the rock bands that are out there touring. All right. And some of these old dogs ain't got new tricks, folks, and they're not stepping aside for new blood. So, and here's the thing, I even said this in my, what was it called? Rock Bands That Should Retire. You know, that big video I was talking about before. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's a bit of a rant. Also, why today's music sucks is a bit of a rant. Both of those are in my popular videos, right? And I go through this all through those videos. People who are not giving us our money's worth. And I've also stated this, and this goes back to Ashley's comment. Uh, uh, of course, Ashley, everybody has a right to go watch whoever they are, aka reality ensues, right? I understand that. But when you get to the point that you've got people bottle choking the entrance for new blood, you actually become part of the problem. You're killing rock and roll. We need new blood. If there is even a prayer for rock and roll to even become one of the main listened musical formats, all right, just to get it up there to be like, yeah, and rock and roll had a few hits this year too, but it's not even there because we got these fat, crippled, voiceless morons scooping up all the money, right? All connected to all the big wigs. And I've talked about that. Not only Ticketmaster and Live Nation, but the Hollywood inside crowd. Because remember, once again, this is freaking show business. There is a level of expectation. Do you want to watch a Brad Pitt movie where he walks through it? Or do you want to see, you know, when Brad Pitt, I love Brad Pitt, when he, his face melts all over and he actually cries for you. That's how into his art form he is. You expect a superior performance. Val Kilmer, rest in peace, would give his all into a performance. You never quite knew what Val Kilmer would offer. What happened to creativity? What happened to artists who created for the sake of their art? What are these clowns doing? Not a damn thing. All right, let me see if I can get to a few more comments here. Gerald Jenkins, yes, I couldn't agree with you more, Michael. There are young and passionate rock bands out there that are not getting the opportunities they should be getting. And I thoroughly, of course, agree with that. And the reason is everybody's stepping on the main stage, and rather rotundly these days, I might add. Okay? Deuces Wild brings up Rival Son should be the biggest thing in music right now. And I agree. If not the biggest, they should be. You know, what happened to the days when it was Beatles or Stones or The Who? And then later, Zeppelin or Sabbath or Deep Purple. You always had three-headed monsters up there. Where are the three-headed monsters anymore? You know, even when grunge came, man, it's that was like a five-headed monster, right? Uh, I, what do you do? I mean, there's nothing new coming along because old blood is, you know, choking up the arteries. You know, too much cholesterol in the air. Cinnamon Girl. Good to see you. This is the first time for you, Cinnamon Girl. A lot of the old bands have all new members that just own the name. Maybe they should make their own band. You damn right. Kelly Hansen wants to get out there. You know, Kelly Hansen, he brags about, he goes, I don't care what you think about me. I just covered this not too long ago. But the one thing you get from us is at least we're live. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad that you're live and doing your freaking job, first of all, as a live performer. What, you get extra points for that, Kelly? Fact is, you're not foreigner. And all of your posturing ain't ever going to change that. And watch your back, Kelly, because I'll tell you right now, there's a new kid in town, right? And we're going to get foreigner until, oh God, until my grandchildren are old. I mean, my God, they'll be out there 2075, foreigner 95. It's, like the Rocky movies, Rocky 36. Good Lord. Caitlin's in the audience. Love you, Caitlin. JBJ is taking his time. Oh, okay, good. Jorge Pita. The Stones always brought out new acts to tour with them, bring back those days and cheaper ticket prices. You know what? That's a great point, Jorge. And it wasn't just the Stones. You know, other bands brought other bands out. That was part of it. Matter of fact, if bands didn't want to bring out new bands, tough shit. You're bringing them out. A lot of bands didn't want to play with Led Zeppelin. They tried to stop that. There's maybe one of the earliest examples of bottlenecking right there was with Led Zeppelin. It came over to the States. Nobody wanted them opening for them because nobody wanted to stay after Led Zeppelin was done. The big show had already been done, and they didn't want to be upstaged, right? But the powers that be told them, you buck it up because they're opening for you. And then later, Led Zeppelin, they could have had people open it, but they were a show unto themselves. They were a jam band like the Dead. They could have done 6-hour shows if they had had the energy. There's no doubt about that. And often did very, very long shows at a time when the long shows were just starting, right? Bruce Springsteen didn't invent the long shows, although if you ask him, he'd probably claim it. Gerald Jenkins, and think Bon Jovi should retire too. Even after he had surgery, his voice hasn't got the range he used to have when he was younger. I agree. We got another one?
Yeah,
Oh,
Rocket
fabulous.
Bird.
Okay, Rockin' Robin Bird. I hope you got your shout out earlier. Thank you so much for your wonderful, super thanks. You're keeping me alive. I swear to God. I'm going to talk more about this as we go on down the line because a lot of YouTube content creators are having a hard time these days. And it usually is one ilk of us, right? And all I can say is if my ilk doesn't shine your knobby little apples, sit on it and twirl, right? The fellowship of contemporary bands was enormous back then, says Deuces Wild. Hell, Zeppelin signed Bad Company. Yeah, right. Here's something special. right? Excellent example. I wouldn't have thought of that tonight. Uh, your comments worth its weight in gold. What a wonderful example of older bands doing what they needed. Because I was kind of going off on a rant. Well, they were their own show, right? But I'm glad you brought that up. And we got a super band from them. Man, that first Bad Company album is as good as any Led Zeppelin album, in my opinion. Stephen TJR says Steven Tyler refused a Russia sound check. Oh, okay. So yeah, well, yeah, that happens. That's been from the heyday. Royce likes to tell the story of how the Dead conned Carlos Santana, into taking acid before doing the Woodstock, and he said, "Oh no, you won't be on for hours." And then all of a sudden he's up, and you can tell when you watch Woodstock, he's just flying higher than a kite. And he did one of his better solos and performances. Vocals off a little, but man, the guy was flying 8 miles high, if not 9 or 10, right? Uh, Zep Earl again. Van says no one wanted Kiss to open for him. How do you follow that show? Yeah, well, with everything going on, yeah, that that in itself is something that, yeah, there are certain bands you can't follow. You just can't follow. And Zeppelin was another one, Vance, as far as I'm concerned. Um, let's see. I saw Sam and Dave because they opened for the Clash. All right. And so some people are still doing the catch up. Piccolino the Cat, good to see you. Long time viewer and commenter here on the channel. Okay, yeah, here's the 4, 5, or 6 that I was talking about. All favorites of mine: Soundgarden, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, The Stone Temple Pilots. You just hit my gold spot right there. Those and did you mention? Nope, you got to add Smashing Pumpkins. Then you got it. Although Smashing Pumpkins, they're listed kind of as a grunge band. I see them more as a grunge era band. There's some grunginess to them, but yeah, they kind of transcended that, especially with the Melancholia album. Chris Elliott, hey, fellow panelists there. Hold on a second here. You know what I'm going to do is let's see if I can't do it here. You guys got to get in. I keep forgetting I'm on Kimberly's account here. You guys got to get in here before the show. Royce was in the show, in before, and then I can go ahead and tap you guys in as moderators for the channel. And I'm in dire need of moderators because I want to keep any trolls off the channel. We try to avoid certain subjects, and we try to just cover classic rock and roll here. So, of course, Chris Elliott, if you get in a little earlier, I could do it. I just can't do it here. And Nick, same thing with you, Nick. I'd love to have you as a moderator as well. Dawson is, Royce is, and let's get the whole panel deputized. All right. So it's right at 6 o'clock, and we're getting kind of going down to this thing is just watch him lose it, Mabel. I think he's going to lose it any moment now. James Redding, good to see you, brother. Often commenter. I was listening to a wrestling podcast. They said the Beatles were overrated. I said they were crazy. Yes, of course they were. They are. The Beatles aren't overrated. And as a closing comment tonight, I want to talk about this whole idea. I'm glad you brought this up. James, this is to you and to all of you who are watching. I'm going to tell you right now what the hell is going on with this rumor that, first of all, this biopic, I don't ever want to see it ever again. The guys they got don't even look a damn bit like the Beatles. One of them's 8 foot tall. And I'm just so done with biopic movies. And I'm a major Beatle fan. And what is this damn rumor about? At the end of the year, we're going to get, well, of course, the anthology book. And so everybody's supposing we're going to get a new remastered. Maybe they'll slip John's 2 songs. They've re-recorded them to the level of how they did it last year, and they're going to repackage this whole thing. They can go. And 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 I got to watch my mouth here. I am just livid at this. What happened to Revolver? This is the year. This is the 60th reunion. If this anthology project comes out, not only will I not get it, I'll start looking for old anthology albums and pay a ridiculous price to get it on vinyl eventually. But screw that and get ready for my whole response to that whole thing. Now, watch them go and make a monkey out of me and put out something amazing with anthology. But this isn't the year to put that out. This is the year to put out Rubber Soul and a Rubber Soul box set. Now, I know they have less recordings than they did available for because they just went in and got things done. There's some outtakes and things like that, but from what I understand, Lewison has said in the past that there's not a lot of outtakes for the Rubber Soul. Well, give us what you damn well got, even if it's just a double LP or the album remixed, remastered, instead of putting out what 60% of it on those stupid ass red and blue albums. So God, such disrespect for Revolver. Remember what I think about Revolver. Revolver is classic rock's first true album, bar none. End of story. Won't even listen to anybody else say anything else. Nobody was making it. The only person that made an album kind of like that was Frank Sinatra. So he's not into rock and roll. And in the 50s, he put out mood albums. This is an album that two young lovers drinking a martini over a fireplace across the Alps, and he'd fashioned the songs around that. So in that way, he actually created almost a concept type of album and made the album listenable within its own identity.
Oh,
I see that.
got you again.
All right, White Monkey, thank you so much, brother. Let me see if I can get down to that. And I want to end up on my thing. Do a double shot, 60th for Help and Rubber Soul. Absolutely. See, Rubber Soul is not only my favorite album by the Beatles, although it's, the more I'm listening to Revolver, that may soon change. All right. Revolver used to be my favorite Beatle album back in the day. And I've got to get into I cover some of that in my latest video where I was always raised in the one that didn't have three of John Lennon's songs. I always thought that I'm Only Sleeping belonged, but Andrew Bird can sing and Dr. Robert both sound too mid Beatles. So I wasn't privy to those songs except for them coming out as in the Yesterday and Today album, right? So it wasn't that I hadn't heard those songs, but when I finally got what the Beatles said was the real Revolver, it took me a while to get used to those songs. Those songs seemed to fit more closely to what we heard on Rubber Soul or Help, even, right? And so I feel that if they had done the 11 songs instead of the 14 on the British, they had done the 11 for the American and included I'm Only Sleeping along with, and I know it was a Beatle rule not to, but along with Paperback Writer and Rain, it would be a much more even album than the British album is. Okay. And evening up John Lennon as a co-writer. He would be a co-writer or writer of 6 tunes of that album if they did that. And Royce sent me a private message telling me no, that was in comments, that he agreed with me that would be a superior album to him. The 11 American version cuts, along with I'm Only Sleeping, Rain, and Paperback Writer, I would choose that album over even the British, the UK album. But it's not what the Beatles intended, and so you have to take the album as the Beatles intended. And I've learned to love the album, even with those 2 songs on it. Okay. So it's about 6:07. I need a few minutes to kind of freshen myself up. purred in my face, and I'm going to be over at Royce in the house at 6:30, 23 minutes from now. Okay, and we're going to have a panel discussion on the Moody Blues, a band that I think is the progenitor of psychedelic and progressive rock, and I'll make my case over there. And I don't think I'll have to make it too hard because I think a couple of the panel members will agree with me. All right, I thank you all so much. I had a terrific time. This is one of the best audiences we ever had. If you're brand new to the channel, I also do pre-recorded videos, shorts. I do polls. I do all of the good things that would make you want to subscribe to this channel. I need as many subscribers as I can get, folks. The channel has stymied in growth. I'm still getting new subscribers, and then I'm getting subscribers cut off the back end. I've looked at my analytics very closely. There's something fishy going on. Okay? All right. As I always say, I love each and every one of you. I I I I enjoy talking about this stuff. I like interacting with you. That's why I do these live streams. And I will see you in about a half hour over on Royce in the House. If you're not familiar with that, you can go to my channel page, and he's my featured channel down there. Just roll on down. Once you get there, you'll see Royce in the House, and you can click right on over there since you're here already. All right. I'll see you in a few minutes. I thank it. I thank each and every one of you for what you not just the super thanks, but for your input here. I didn't, it's so tough to get to everybody on a Sunday when I got about an hour. I can't go too much further, otherwise I won't be up there all fresh and ready to go for Royce. So if I didn't get to your comment tonight, I'm still new at this. This is forum number 18. So I haven't been doing this for a long time. And as I promised you in the past, each and every show I try to make a little better. I think I've done that. I think I have done that. Tonight was a little, you know, deuces wild for me. Like I said before, I've always thought of this live stream as what do I want to say? Identifying itself. And I told you last week, I could feel an identity coming on here, a theme or whatever. And it's coming close to that. And I want this to be as honest and as naked as it possibly can be. This is what my cleanup videos are for the pre-recorded ones. All right. I'm more straight laced there. Here, you and I get to talk pretty much right in the real time and in the real world. And I appreciate that. And I want to hear from each and every one of you. All right. So if you see this video or this stream later, be sure to give me a comment on whether you think I made any sense tonight, or what are some other bands or artists that you think are out there and are way too long in the tooth. All right, folks, I'll see you in a few minutes on Royce. I'm going to shut this down, and I'll see you live on my next stream here on the Tribal Forum. Night, folks.